many of you have perhaps wondered what's become of my life since the original taping of the Path video. And I thought I might share with you some things that are very significant that have occurred. I've since recognized that I had outgrown my role as a hospital administrator, and although that was my discipline, that perhaps that there was a calling on my life to do more around the issue of children. So I went on to run one of the larger nonprofit agencies that was a family support agency and included foster care as one of its programs. And I got to tell you what a thrill it was to supervise and over social workers in foster care and to really have an opportunity to influence that. And I went on to work at the Marriott Foundation for People with Disabilities as its national director and had the chance there to really look at transitioning young people from school to careers, those who were in special ed or had special needs, and where we found that a large percentage of those across the country are kids also in the child welfare system. And I left Freddie Mac to go on and become the director of the Freddie Mac Foundation's foundation giving program, and where I had a portfolio of over 20-something million to give away annually. And that was thrilling, and I had the chance to bring the Wednesday's Child program there to Atlanta and to Philadelphia and in Los Angeles. And so that's ought to be a really good piece of a legacy, so to speak, to know that children will have that resource as a way to try to find families. Left the Freddie Mac Foundation and then became chief of staff for Mayor Anthony Williams in Washington, D.C. And I was chief of staff for Children, Youth, Families, and Elders, where I had agencies, the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Health, the Child and Family Services Agency, Parks and Rec, the library. So it should have been chief of staff for all people and all things, but it was really a very complex and challenging but rewarding experience to work for a mayor who himself had been adopted, had experienced the child welfare system, and really is clearly responsible for helping with the renaissance of Washington, D.C. Since then, I've gone on to return to an organization that I'm the founder of, CASA for Children of DC, and I'm currently serving as its CEO. And I find that through some of the projects and initiatives that we've launched there, we're able to advocate for children, and we're trying to get an initiative off the ground where we're training young people how to advocate for themselves. And so that's what's happened with me professionally. In my personal life, I have gone to adopt 4 boys out of DC's child welfare system. I have 3 girls through birth, so I have a total of 7 children. My children now are at the ages of 25, 23, 21. I have a 16-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter, and then my 2 youngest boys who were brothers. You can probably imagine why I would have adopted 2 brothers, but they were 3 and 5 when they came, and now they're 9 and 11. So that's a pretty good sense of what's gone on in my life. That's the update these days, and I hope that you'll hear more about the way that my life is being used. And I've been really humbled and moved here in Tennessee specifically about the ways that I've heard that this story has sort of contributed to doors opening on behalf of children. I am just overwhelmed by how this has contributed to sensitizing people and also building, to your commitment on ensuring that our children have the things that they really need to grow into healthy adults. I've reached out to most of the foster placements that I've lived in. I've maintained a relationship for the longest while with the Jenkins. I was really always very excited about letting her know what a contribution she made to the man I've become. Every promotion, every accomplishment, any kind of recognition, I always wanted her to know. I even went into healthcare because Mrs. Jenkins was a nurse. I just valued so much of what they provided in my life. And ultimately, unfortunately, at the around the death of their birth son, that relationship took on a turn in a very different direction, and she stopped portraying, I guess, or participating in the role with me as mother and son. And I think saw herself losing her birth son, and that defined her in a very different kind of way. And that was very hard for me because it meant that she just sort of, distanced herself and didn't really see me as someone who also loved her, and someone who would be a resource for her. And so I'm disappointed about how that relationship has turned out. But it doesn't change the fact that from my perspective, from the perspective of a child being raised by an adult, she will always be the woman that I think of as my mom. I will always be grateful to her for everything that she's done for me. And that because she opened her doors to that little boy who was desperately in need of a home and love, that little boy became a man whose life has impact on many others. And he's just trying to make his little corner of the world a little better. And it all occurred because someone said that children mattered. Someone said that I have a little bit more to give to a little kid. And boy, what a profound impact she made. Well, Mr. Pointer, no, I've not been able to find Mr. Pointer, and I would really hope that someday that he would have the opportunity to hear that as a social worker, he had a powerful impact on my life because he was the first social worker who demonstrated that my life had value, that he cared about the choices that I was making. He was in authentic relationship with me and a great role model. And because of that, I would love for him to know that somewhere, if he didn't do anything else in his life, boy, he had an impact on a young man who cherishes and relishes in the relationship that he created for me as a little boy.